Life is quieter in the town of Petoskey, Michigan. And that's how Lyle and Carol Kopenkoskey like it.
They were living a comfortable but very simple life.
But little do they know, everything is about to change when Lyle is found dead. As the news spreads about the case, authorities struggle to find clues, a suspect, and a motive.
We don't have carjackings, we don't have inner city crime here. It was highly unusual.
Police aren't sure if they're dealing with a man who's taken his own life, or if there's something more nefarious at play.
Nothing was missing from the car. His coffee was actually still warm in his thermos.
As the clock ticks down, investigators rush to find a lead before the case goes cold. And before the truth behind Lyle's death vanishes without a trace. With the population close to 5,600, Petoskey, Michigan is a hidden treasure along the state's lower peninsula. A place where sunseekers flock in the summer months and adventurers brave in the winter. The administrative center of Emmett County, Petoskey is also a former haunt of author Ernst Hemingway, who set some of his stories in the small town.
We have a lot of money here, a lot of summer people. The population increases fourfold in the summer. And we're right on Lake Michigan in Little Traverse Bay. It's a beautiful community.
You can do pretty much anything outdoors here, hunting, fishing, hiking.
On the outskirts of Petoskey is the home of Lyle Kopenkoskey, a heavy machine operator for a local construction company. Lyle is a simple man with simple pleasures. His love of auto racing is a bond that him and his brother, Carl, share. He's a loyal husband to his wife, Carol, whom he's been married to for nearly 40 years. Lyle is a creature of habit, whose daily routine is to come home from work, fix himself a drink, eat dinner, and then spend his evenings watching television.
Throughout the whole investigation, I did not hear one bad thing about Lyle. He was a great guy, great uncle, good person, very hardworking.
Carol Kopenkoskey is a woman of many trades. She's taken on several careers throughout the years, including owning a restaurant, which burned to the ground in the 1980s. In October of 2012, she works at a local grocery store, a pizza place, and she cleans houses. She builds up her reputation around town as a hard worker, someone willing to take on many tasks at once, a trait both her and Lyle possess. And for all their hard work, the Kopenkoskys reward themselves with the things they love most in life.
Their idea of fun was heading to Michigan Speedway to see the auto races or NASCAR. They kept to themselves. They were definitely family-driven people.
By all accounts, the Kopenkoskys are like any other married couple. But their world is tragically rocked on a cool fall day in October of 2012. Earlier in the day, on October 2nd, 2012, Carl passes his brother's truck, which is parked down a country road.
Carl is Lyle's brother who lives a quarter mile away from where the truck was located, saw Lyle's truck and did not see Lyle.
He slows and examines the scene. Assuming his brother has gone hunting, Carl continues on, but keeps the image in his head throughout the rest of the day. Carol arrives home around 9 p.m. after working all day. Immediately, she notices Lyle's truck is nowhere to be seen. When she enters the house, she finds that Lyle isn't in his usual spot, watching television. She calls out for her husband, but no one answers. Worry then starts to set in, which is only amplified when she listens to the unheard messages left on her voicemail. They're all from Lyle's boss. Lyle didn't show up for work that day.
Lyle worked for many, many, many years, and by all accounts was a great employee. Very consistent, reliable, didn't call in sick, never missed days of work, was always on time.
Carol calls Carl, asking if he's seen Lyle. Carl hasn't, until he remembers passing by Lyle's truck earlier in the day.
They lived out in the country, and, it was not near a lot of other houses or anything like that. There was a lot of space in between them and any neighbors. And Lyle's brother actually discovered the truck there and stopped, I believe, in the evening. It was obviously highly suspicious that his brother's truck was still there many hours later on the side of the road.
And that's when the call came in that we possibly had a missing person.
The small police force of Petoskey arrive at the scene. Aside from what looks to be an abandoned vehicle, nothing appears out of ordinary at first. There are no noticeable signs of a struggle, no apparent bloodstains, and no visible weapons. Though the scenario of what's happened is still uncertain, authorities know time is of the essence. They need to find Lyle, and fast, so they call in reinforcements.
At that point, they called out the search and rescue team, where they then would comb what was literally cow pastures, looking for a body, looking for a weapon, looking for any type of evidence that would show Lyle's whereabouts.
With police at the scene working to piece together the events of that night, investigators head to the Kopenkoskey home, where Carol nervously waits. Carol tells the authorities her and Lyle spent some time in their second home in Allenson, about 20 minutes from Petoskey, over the weekend. When they returned on Sunday night, there was something different about Lyle. Something was off.
She explained to me the night before that Lyle had been drinking. Lyle had what she had termed was hallucinating, and she was basically babysitting him.
According to Carol, Lyle mixed alcohol with his depression and anxiety medication the night before, rendering him in a strange, hallucinatory state.
In his intoxication, he was falling over chairs, had walked behind a television. She had even mentioned that he possibly was going to the bathroom behind the television, really acting erratic. During the time of babysitting him, he had mentioned that he wanted to go to work. He needed to go to work. Well, this was at 2 o'clock in the morning. So she kept trying to get him to go back to bed. But she did make a lunch, as she says she does every day, and make coffee and try to wait it out until it was time for him to actually go to work.
Carol tells officers she returns home Monday evening, and only then learns that Lyle didn't make it to work. She calls Carl to see if Lyle is over there. That phone call triggers Carl to investigate his brother's truck. Carol fears the worst. Lyle's depression has worsened over the past little while. What if Lyle has taken his own life? Meanwhile, investigators at the scene continue to scour every fragment of land for something, anything that could lead them to Lyle. But hours have passed, and they're no closer to finding him. Spirits are beginning to dwindle.
I think they were just trying to piece together what happened. I don't know if they thought it might be a suicide even.
Then, at approximately 12:30 a.m. on October 3rd, 2012, Lyle's body is located.
It wasn't until approximately 2 hours later that they actually located Lyle in the ditch, maybe 15 to 20 feet from where they were standing in the middle of the road. The way the ditch was located made it very difficult to see the bottom of the ditch, and so they were not able to locate the body because of the darkness and the way the lights were. We even had a dog in the area that we called out, and the dog was also unable to find the body, but eventually a rescue worker had walked upon it.
Investigators are stunned as they try to wrap their heads around the horrific sight before them. As they wait for the medical examiner to arrive, they can't help but ask themselves, Could Lyle have died by suicide? Or is there something more malicious going on in the quiet town of Petoskey?
Put a knife to the throat of Lyle and basically threatened to kill him.
They were looking for a .38 revolver, a murder weapon.
There was highlighted pages of how to cover up evidence.
On the night of October 2nd, 2012, Lyle Kopenkoskey finds his brother Lyle's truck abandoned down a gravel road on the outskirts of town, not far from where Carl lives. He immediately calls the police, and an investigation into Lyle's whereabouts begins.
And the police started investigating, and a search took place. And several hours later, they found his body in a ditch within 20 feet of the truck, out on the side of the road in a rural area.
The search and rescue team has passed the area several times before, but because of the terrain of the ditch, the darkness of the night, and the lights from all the vehicles, Lyle's body has initially been missed. As authorities wait for the medical examiner before moving Lyle's body, his truck is searched.
Nothing was touched. Valuable tools were located in the back of the truck. So carjacking, theft, though we couldn't rule it out, but it was highly unlikely that that was the case.
No weapons are found in or around the area. The only thing that seems strange to investigators is that the driver's seat is pulled forward to a height that doesn't match that of Lyle's, indicating that he may not have been the last person to drive his vehicle, and making the theory of suicide slightly less plausible. Police get more details from Lyle's wife, Carol. She claims Lyle's been seeing a therapist for several months now, and she doesn't rule out suicide as a means to his death. But that theory is quickly dismissed once Lyle's body is removed from the ditch.
He was lying face down, so they had not rolled the body to see if the gun was located underneath. That's when I arrived on scene, where I then rolled the body and could not find a weapon. Then I noticed that he had gunshot wounds to his back. At that point, I called it a homicide.
5 bullet wounds are discovered in Lyle's body, 4 in his back and 1 in his left temple.
It was pretty evident at the scene that Lyle had got shot on the side of the road and at some point rolled in or pushed into the ditch. He did have a gunshot wound to the side of his head, and we felt that that was the last gunshot that had killed him.
It's not apparent that he was in a fight, it was apparent that he was intentionally murdered.
Due to where he was located and where the truck was located, my thought at that point was that he was running away, and that at some point he had seen the gun and he was running, away from the threat.
Now, with the murder investigation underway, the questions begin piling up. But the one thing on everyone's mind is, where is the gun that killed Lyle Kopenkoskey?
Recovering a firearm with this particular case, it is close to solving the crime. That firearm will tell you a lot of things before the analysis. Who owned it, any prints on it, anything like that.
Investigators continue examining the scene, sweeping for evidence of any kind, for the murder weapon, or for any bullet casings, but nothing is found.
There could be 2 reasons why there are not gunshot cases. One, the shooter could have picked them up. Most of the time, it's not likely, but the shooter could have picked them up. Second, could have been a revolver. The revolver is where the casings stay in the cylinder. They're not discharged. So, if I were to put my eggs in a basket, I would say the gun was used was a revolver.
The only hope now is in the hands of the medical examiner. If a bullet is lodged in Lyle's body, that could help authorities confirm that a revolver was in fact the weapon used to murder Lyle. Investigators take their questions of firearms to Carol, who confirms there are 2 in the Kopenkoskey household: a .380 handgun and a small caliber rifle. Authorities ask about a revolver, but Carol denies having one, claiming there are no other weapons in her possession. The guns are taken for processing and to rule Carol out as a suspect.
In a homicide, everybody's a suspect at that point. So we didn't have any concrete information. We didn't have anybody dancing in the street waving their hands saying they did it. And of course, in that type of situation, the first person you want to speak to is a spouse to lock in key information.
Do you know what has transpired at the scene?
No.
Okay, you don't know that. We had the crime lab come up, and he has multiple gunshot wounds.
You're kidding?
No, I'm not kidding.
Authorities also begin speaking with the community in and around Petoskey, specifically those who knew Lyle well, all in the search for more leads. Several people come forward with information about that night. One witness comes forward, claiming to have seen a man near Lyle's truck the night of the murder.
We get up to here and we see that man walking in camo, and we're just like, it's already 9 o'clock, why is he heading out there? We didn't see him carrying any gear, no nothing. That's another thing that puzzled us. Why are you walking into the woods, no rifle, no bow, nothing? You know, nothing fit. Just that whole day we're going through this, and like, man, then we get the phone call and it's like, somebody got shot, man.
Could this man be Lyle? Or could it be the person responsible for his death? A second witness contacts police with a different accounting.
Was there any lights on inside the car or any exterior lights on the car?
No.
Did it appear to be running?
Nope. Like I say, it was early in the morning. I was kind of in a hurry, but I didn't notice anything abnormal. And like I say, in other words, the first thing that struck me was that someone broke down, and so I was looking for someone walking.
And you saw no one, though?
No one.
Okay.
It just seems strange that it was pulled not just off to the road, but then back half out. And on a slope like that.
Unfortunately, nothing substantial comes from the eyewitnesses, and investigators have yet to pinpoint a suspect or motive. But a stunning turn of events occurs when they speak to Carl, who tells police some shocking information.
There wasn't a single family member or anybody that came forward stating that Lyle had an enemy, except for one, and that was John Ernst.
He believes Carol is cheating on Lyle with John Ernst, her business partner and longtime friend.
As far as Carol's affair is concerned, many people told us that she had been seeing John Ernst romantically for many years. People had seen them together, some of their friends had seen them romantically, staying together in the same room. So it was clear that Carol was having an affair, and the affair was with this John Ernst.
Lyle was very aware that Carol had been spending a lot of time with John. So aware that he had talked to Carl about it, he had talked to family members about it, he had talked to Carol about it. Carol had talked to me and admitted to me that Lyle had been asking about John on various occasions.
With the news of what appears to be a happy marriage being anything but, authorities sway their focus onto Carol's rumored lover, John Ernst. And as the investigation digs deeper and word spreads, an anonymous tip leads them to believe they may have found their main suspect.
John put a knife to the throat of Lyle Kopenkoskey and basically threatened to kill him.
Police discover that Lyle Kopenkoskey has been shot multiple times and that the murder weapon is nowhere to be found. After Lyle's brother, Carl, comes forward with a bit of shocking information about Lyle's wife, Carol, authorities begin to suspect that John Ernst, whom Carol is rumored to be having an affair with, may know something about Lyle's murder. An anonymous tip also comes forward about an altercation between Lyle and John, solidifying investigators' suspicions.
I don't know if you're aware of this gentleman by the name of John Ernst, who the summer before last did a family function, put a knife to the throat of Lyle Kopenkoskey and basically threatened to kill him. So this gentleman, according to this entire side of the family, has quite a propensity for violence. He's known to have had some animosity and made a physical threat and held the knife to his throat.
Lyle confronted John Ernst at one point. There was a physical altercation between them. I'm very confident that Lyle was very frustrated with the fact that Carol was seeing somebody else, was seeing John.
And learning that situation really piqued my interest because it was John Ernst, it was Carol's lover, and it was a knife to Lyle's throat. That's the only story I got involving Lyle in any type of altercation or having any sort of enemy.
With this startling new information, John Ernst is now high on the list of suspects. Is it possible that his rumored affair with Carol has taken a deadly turn?
I told the Detective Sumter, that we needed to interview John Ernst. The problem with the case was that John Ernst had moved out of the area, did not live in Petoskey any longer, was staying in Tennessee.
They reach out to John and inform him of Lyle's passing.
I'm confused. It wasn't health related? No. Huh. Wow. I have to be honest with you. The reason why I'm calling you is it's rumored that you and Carol are having an affair. Yeah, it's BS. It's been going around for years. We're good friends. Right. Been friends since high school. Are you absolutely certain? Because you're a little hesitant, and I'm concerned that you know something more and a little nervous to tell me. No, I knew that he wasn't feeling well, and his health was an issue, but I'm stunned.
He had no knowledge about the crime. He denied having an affair with her. He said that they were just friends, and he basically knew nothing about it.
Without any solid evidence to back them up, police can't pin this on John just yet.
He had a rock-solid alibi that he was in Tennessee at the time of the murder, on the day of the murder.
Police bring Carol in for another round of questioning. She retells the story of the last time she saw her husband. But as Carol speaks, officers realize something crucial. Her stories aren't matching. Originally, Carol claims she hadn't seen Lyle the evening of his murder.
The last time you saw him was what?
That morning. He left around 5:30.
But upon questioning once more, she states she returns home the evening of October 2nd, 2012, and finds Lyle acting completely erratic, wanting to go to work, even though it was the evening and he only works days.
She told me that she pulled his truck out of the garage and she allowed him, in what she claimed to be an intoxicated state, but she allowed him to get into the truck and drive to work in an unknown direction. That was odd to me. One, the fact that she had actually felt the need to pull the truck out of the garage, and two, letting your husband of many years jump in a truck and go to work highly intoxicated.
Well, we think that he was shot earlier in the night, meaning your story wouldn't be true. Do you see what I'm saying? There's no blood in his car, all right? There are no rounds, there's nothing. The driver's seat of the car is pulled way up, okay? Such as a smaller person would have driven that car.
Police begin to believe Carol may know more about Lyle's murder than she's letting on.
Is there something more that you want to tell me?
I don't know what I can. I don't know anything more. I guess I'm just upset that you'd even think I would do something like this. I wouldn't do it.
I didn't say that you did.
When I'm in here being questioned like this, wait, am I the guilty one here or what?
An autopsy is performed on Lyle. The medical team is able to extract several bullet fragments from his body, including one from his back that contains an identifiable groove pattern. The bullet is sent off for further testing, which comes back that it's from a .38 Special revolver.
Typically, a .38 is a revolver-style type of weapon, the old Chief Special type of .38. But usually a 6-shot. .38 caliber is mid-range as far as size, but it's also a very popular handgun.
A lot of people like revolvers, and it, because you don't leave any shell casings, you don't leave a trail behind, or you take it with you. Whereas a semi-automatic, you gotta look for where your shell casings are, and usually you never find them, even though they're supposed to fall right by your feet.
Yet no .38 caliber weapon is found at Carol's house, and she denies having one. Police find themselves grasping at straws once more, until another truth is revealed.
As the investigation developed, it turned out that Carol Kopenkoskey had a .38 revolver, and she had told friends that it would be the perfect gun to use in a crime because it wasn't registered.
It was a family member that had seen the gun at Lyle and Carol's house, and it was at that point where Carol had mentioned that it would be a good throwaway gun in a crime.
With this shocking turn of events, police speak to Carl Kopenkoskey with only one question on their minds.
Of the people in his circle of people that we know, who would most likely be the person that would hurt the gun? Carol or Dennis?
On a cool October night in Petoskey, Michigan, heavy machine operator Lyle Kopenkoskey is murdered in cold blood. Over the course of the investigation, authorities questioned Lyle's wife, Carol, repeatedly, but her stories from the first night don't match to her current chain of events.
Her story didn't make sense. The events of that morning, why she would have let him go to work when he was clearly intoxicated, according to her, why she didn't check on him during the day, why she didn't call him even after being informed by his work and from his brother that he had seen Lyle's truck on the side of the road at 9:30 in the evening, and earlier that day, she never called him. She never tried to make contact with him to find out if he was okay. All these things were very suspicious.
To further the case against Carol, a witness comes forward saying Carol owns a handgun that may match the bullets pulled from Lyle's body. The witness further states that Lyle was not a gun person, but Carol is.
So our first search warrant was for Carol and Lyle's primary residence on Townsend Road.
They were looking for a .38 revolver, murder weapon, and any other potential evidence that she might have been involved in the crime.
In that search, we located a couple rifles. Didn't appear to be anything to do or have anything to do with the case. We found and located a handgun case, but no handgun in it. So we found that very interesting.
They did find, however, some books that were highly incriminating, would have been a part of the circumstantial nature of the case.
There was a book that I located, and in that book there was highlighted pages of how to cover up evidence. There was another book that was used and also highlighted about toxicology and different plants and different substances that could poison or kill someone without a trace. That was pretty interesting. But of course, at that point, I didn't know, but I was starting to piece things together a little bit more.
Slowly, the community's opinion of Carol comes to light, and most of them aren't flattering.
From all accounts, Carol was manipulative, selfish, all about money. She wasn't honest or trustworthy. She was cheating on Lyle with John Ernst for years. Her phone records were pretty incriminating. Within a day or two of finding his body, she stopped talking to the police and took the Fifth Amendment. Now, while all citizens obviously have the right of silence and to not talk to the police, if you're not the murderer, why would you do that? In fact, you should be pounding down the door of the investigator, asking if there's any clues, if there's any suspects, what's going on with the case. She didn't do that. She didn't contact the investigators at all after she learned of her husband's murder, and in fact did the opposite. Completely shut down, took the Fifth, hired an attorney, and stopped answering questions. So all of this was highly incriminating.
Investigators also receive a call from Lyle's insurance company, asking if the police are able to exclude Carol as a suspect, as she's looking to collect Lyle's life insurance, worth $100,000.
Perhaps she thought there was money there, with insurance money. It was an easy way out.
Though the evidence seems to be piling up against Carol, everything is circumstantial. Investigators need to find something tangible, something concrete, but time is running out.
The case hasn't gone cold at that point, but it would be nice to have something else. You can make an arrest without the full puzzle, and at some point the prosecutor decided that we could go ahead and do that. So an arrest was made based on circumstantial evidence, and we were actually prepared to go to trial on a circumstantial murder case. We were worried about it, but we were certainly starting to prepare ourselves for it.
In early 2013, police take Carol Kopenkoskey into custody. Police are confident that they have their murderer, but a twisted turn of events changes all that, and Carol is released from custody after paying $125,000 to post bail.
It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. I've handled over 30 homicide cases in my career, and not once have I ever encountered a situation where a murder suspect was out on bond. But here was Carol out on bond, unfortunately, due to the problems that had happened in the office with respect to personnel turnover before I arrived. The case kept getting adjourned, and the judge allowed her out on bond.
Carol's out on the street. There really was mixed emotion on whether Carol did it or not do it. I was catching the blunt of a lot of people angry that I or we, would arrest Carol. How could we think that she would do something like this? And then the other side was she definitely did it. She'd been plotting it for years.
Investigators are worried, but not deterred. They continue to dig for more concrete evidence. But as the days turn into months, the hunt seems to slip through their hands. The case is starting to turn cold. All hope seems lost until the unthinkable happens. A new witness comes forward with information that could send Carol away for good. Carol Kopenkoskey is arrested for the murder of her husband, Lyle. But shortly after her arrest, and due to a flaw in the system, Carol makes bail. With the case against her built only on circumstantial evidence, authorities continue to desperately search for something more concrete to bring Carol in for good. If they fail, Lyle Kopenkoskey's murderer could walk free. But everything changes when a witness by the name of Michael Woods comes forward with a startling claim.
I'm in my office, and I'm actually getting ready to go home for the night, and I receive a phone call from an attorney from Gaylord, Michigan, which is about an hour away. And that attorney told me that he had some information he thought I should know concerning the Kopenkoskey murder. He told me that Carol had approached his client some years prior and had offered him $25,000 to kill Lyle.
Michael meets detectives to deliver a formal statement.
I met him at the door, and he immediately provided me with a piece of paper that basically had explained everything that had occurred.
She called me from her phone, and that was her quote. That's why I have it in quotes. She wanted to discuss a little matter. That's all she said over the phone.
When I went to meet with her, there was no one else there that I can remember. I don't know why she thought she could trust me with this request, but not thinking she could really be serious about this. I thought it may be an opportunity to scam some money from her. So I told her I'd think about it and I may know of someone that could help her.
Had nobody in mind at that time.
Okay, nobody in mind.
Nobody. No, I'm not in this business.
Sure, all right. But it was pretty specific to you that
she wanted her husband killed for $25,000.
So at that point, we're getting ready to go to trial in a circumstantial case, and this information pops up. It was truly epic.
Nobody knows of this.
Okay. Does your girlfriend?
Yeah, she knows. She supports me wholly. She said, I told you should have done it right from the get-go.
Woods did regret not coming forward, but he was more worried about being involved, and he didn't want to be involved in this situation. It upset me because if he would have brought this information up years ago, Lyle might still be alive.
In terms of the particulars, what was relevant to me was he had proof.
At some point during our 2 meetings, Carol handed me a white business-size envelope.
On his phone, he had pictures from Carol of Lyle's truck with his license plate number on it, a map of his route to work every morning.
This is the break investigators have been waiting for.
At that point, bond was revoked, and she was immediately arrested and placed at the Emmett County Jail.
Police confront Carol with this revelation. And finally, after months of uncertainty, Carol gives a shocking confession.
During that meeting, her attorney, myself, and Stu sat down in the interview room, and she basically laid out the whole plan, the whole incident, what had occurred prior to, during, and after Lyle's murder.
About, I think, 5 or so, he was ready. I says, okay, you can go ahead and go to work. I went out and got the truck. I brought it out of the garage. Then when he was ready to leave the house, I said, drop me off somewhere so that I can walk back, get back to my exercise. So we went up, I drove the truck. We went up to where it was parked. And then he got out and...
Who drove there?
I did.
Okay. So you got out there.
That's when I shot him.
Okay. What did you use?
Big.
38? Was it unregistered?
Being in that room was certainly an emotional roller coaster, to be honest with you. You're happy because we got her. You're sad because this occurred. And you're upset because the family has gone through this for so long.
Having her walk us through that was chilling. She insisted on driving that morning, which is why the seat of the truck was pulled up. She drove them out to this spot on the side of the road where his truck was later found.
So he got out of the passenger side and was walking around.
The driver's side. That's when I shot him. And then he started running down the road. So I shot him again.
I asked her, so talk to me about the last shot. And what she had said is that Lyle had rolled into the ditch, got on his knees, and his exact words were, baby, we can work this out, baby, we can work this out.
Nevertheless, she said, quote, it's too late for that. Fired the final shot to his forehead and executed him as he lay there in the ditch.
I just can't believe it.
During the meeting with Carol, she had said that she'd taken the gun from the scene and had hid it in a concrete block across the road from her house, where it remained there for a couple weeks until she was able to take it from that concrete block.
And then I took it and I cut it up.
You cut it up? How did you do that?
The hacksaw.
And it's then that Carol admits she did not act alone.
At one point, she had borrowed her friend's truck because she felt that we had placed a tracker on hers, And after borrowing that friend's truck, she picked up John Ernst from the airport. Instead of taking a right heading south, they took a left and went up to the Mackinac Bridge. And as they were going over the Mackinac Bridge, they threw the gun over the bridge.
So John threw the gun out. John knew what he was throwing out. It was pieces of a gun, right?
Yes.
And he knew that that was the gun that was used in the murder.
Yes.
I assume that you discussed that specifically on the way up to the bridge, why you were going there with him, right?
Yeah, I said, let's get rid of it.
Let's get rid of the gun.
Correct.
And he actually threw it out.
Yes.
A dive team is sent to the Mackinac Bridge, about an hour north of Petoskey, where Carol alleges John Ernst threw the gun. The team searches, but the pieces of the gun are never found.
On a professional level, like I say, it was one of the highlights of my career, being able to actually interview a murderer about the details of their crime. Plus, we now had enough information to charge John Ernst.
Carol Kopenkoskey takes a plea deal in exchange for her full confession. She forgoes a trial and is sentenced.
We could have gone to trial and tried to get her convicted of first-degree murder, in which case she would have had no possibility of parole ever and died in prison. But it would have been a 2 to 3 week jury trial, an extensive outpouring of resources for probably not much more benefit.
With justice served, all but one question still lingers on the minds of all those involved in this horrific crime.
I also asked her why. And the most bizarre answer is that her family did not believe in divorce. So I asked, so you murdered him instead? And she said, yep.
She tried to claim that the reason for the murder was because he was abusive and he was an alcoholic and she was just tired of it. We don't believe Lyle was an alcoholic. We believe he drank, partly out of frustration because of her affair with John Ernst. We believe Lyle was very frustrated with Carol because Carol was not close with him, was very distant from him. He knew she was cheating on him, and rather than addressing that, she killed him.